Just a little starter video notice for everybody. If you go to the video description, there will be timestamps for each chapter of this video. So each section will have its own chapter. That way you can quickly get to the section and hand that you're looking for rather than having to click around in this video to try to find the line that you are looking for. So with that, we'll go ahead and move forward into the normal video. In this video, we are going to be going over the 2026 National Mahjong League card. We will be going line by line through each hand on the card, and we will be doing this on ilovemahj.com. So I love Mahj. It's one of my favorite platforms. It's probably the one I use most, and the reasoning for that is because they have 4-player Mahjong on here, and you can play with bots or you can play with random players online. Whenever you launch the game, it'll give you the option. There's a play live button here, and you can also schedule games with your friends. In addition to the 4-player Mahjong, they also have Siamese Mahjong on here. As far as I'm aware, they're the only platform that has Siamese Mahjong. And then they also have tournaments with robots on here that are great for beginners, and a little less stressful because you can kind of go at your own pace throughout those tournaments with the bots, and they give you a 24-hour window to complete the entire tournament, and you can stop and pick up in between games as needed. So they also have these exercise rooms, which we'll be using today. We'll be using the Make a Hand exercise room to go line by line through the 2026 card. But they also have Charleston practice. They have what hand is this? So identify your opponent's hands based on their exposures. And they have Module, which is like Wordle for going through the hands. And then they have Heavenly Hands. So you're dealt tiles that would complete a winning hand, and you just have to order them correctly. I feel like this website has the most amount of features and options and is reasonably priced. I believe I think it's $5.99 a month if I remember right, and then $60 for the year, which generally the year is just what I've always done because it's just the best price point for it. But if you're interested in trying out I Love Mahj and you've never used it before, I do have a promo code that will be linked in the bottom of this video. JPM YT is the promo code. So whenever you go to sign up, you'll just enter that in, and instead of a 2-week free trial, you get a 3-week free trial. And then I don't believe they require any kind of payment method up front. So if you decide that you want to do it, then you can enter in your payment information then. Otherwise, you don't have to worry about accidentally renewing the subscription. And the online tournaments on here are also included in the subscription. Everything on this website is included in the monthly subscription. But with that, we will go ahead and get into the Make a Hand exercise, and we'll start going over the sections and lines in the 2026 National Mahjong League card. All right, so we will be starting out with the 2026 year section. So we have 2026 line 1 right here, and the parentheses, we have any 2 suits for this line. So we have 1 suit, we have the white dragon right here, which for the year hands is a 0, or for any 0 that would appear in the card, since last year there were zeros outside of the year category. So anytime you see a 0, it will be referring to a white dragon, which will be a neutral suit as the 0. And then we have the second suit here for the 2 and 6. So we have a pung pung Kong Kong pattern on here. 1 suit, and then white dragon, second suit. So With this, since the white dragon is considered neutral, you could use dots for the 2s right here in the first suit, or for the 2s and 6s in the second suit at the end of the line. So we'll go ahead and build an example of this hand. We can use any suit for this first suit. We'll go ahead and use the character tiles. So a pung of 2s, the pung of white dragons, and then we will do dots on here just as example of the white dragon being a neutral suit. All right, so we did make it correctly, so we'll just try again one more time. So we'll do 2s, 0, 2, 6. So this is just as it's shown. So this is also correct. So a lot of newer players have trouble with remembering the white dragon being the 0 and with it being a neutral suit. So just because we're using the white dragons here, the beginning of the hand for the pung of 2s or the kong of 2s and 6s can also be dots. All right, so on to line 2. We have any 2 suits with matching dragons, kong, 2, or 6. So with this, we have one suit. So matching dragon with this first part here. And then the second part of the hand is the second suit. So we have 2s or 6s can be used here with matching dragon to this kong. Now with the 2026 part of this hand, this is a group of singles, so you cannot use jokers here. So any new players, I know that's something a lot of people will get hung up on. You can only use jokers in pungs, kongs, quints. You can't use it in singles or pairs. 2026, this grouping is considered singles. So we'll go ahead and do our first suit for this part. So we'll do 2, 0, 2, 6. So this is all one suit because the white dragon is neutral as a 0. So it can go with these cracks. And then since we used cracks here, we have to use red dragons. So we have pungs of red dragons. And then for the second suit, we have a kong of either 2s or 6s. So we'll just make this first example as it's shown. So 2 dots. And the white dragon to go with our dots. Now, the nice thing about this one, unlike last year, if I remember correctly, the 2026 hand, it used a kong of dragons in that hand. So if you use the white dragons, you would have to use a joker. But with this hand this year, you're not going to have to use a joker in this hand if you're lucky enough to get all the actual dials. So we made that correctly. We'll go ahead and do another example of this hand. So we'll do 2, 0, 2, 6. We'll do the matching dragon, so green dragons. And then we will do the kong of 2 cracks and the red dragon. All right, so we will go ahead and move on to the next line. So we have line 3. We have, oh, sorry, I have to get this pulled back up. Okay, so we have any 3 suits for the parentheses here. So we have a pung of flowers. We have the 2026 block, pung of 2s, and a kong of 6s. So in this one, it's kind of like a pung kong pattern to kind of like remember, just remembering that 2026 is a grouping of singles. So any 3 suits, we'll be using all 3 suits. So one suit here, the second suit, and then the third suit being here. And then flowers, as always, are considered neutral tiles, just like the 0. So we will have a pung of flowers. We'll do 2026. So we chose the characters for our first suit. Second suit, we can use either dots or BAMs. So we'll go ahead and use the BAMs. So a pung of 2 BAMs, and then we have a Kong of our last suit, which would be dots. So a Kong of 6 dots. All right, and then we got that one correctly. So we will move on to the fourth line, which is the last line of the 2026 section. This one, it's any 2 suits, and this is an open hand, so exposed hand. All of the hands so far in the 2026 section, and actually in the 2026 section in general, because this is the last hand of the 2026 section, are exposed hands. So there are no concealed hands in this section of the card. So we have pair, pung, pung, and then news. So I always think of the news grouping just for me remembering patterns. I'm thinking of this one, pair, pung, pung, Kong. Just remember that these are singles though, so it's not really a Kong. But that's the way I see the hand to help me with remembering whenever I'm making the hands, the type of pattern going on. So we have one suit here, and then we have the zeros, don't belong to a suit. The second suit here for these 2s and 6s, and then news, which does also not belong to a specific suit. It's neutral. So first suit, we'll go ahead and do 2s. So 2 dots, and then 0, 0. So we use dots here. So now we can use either BAMs or cracks here. We'll go ahead and use the BAMs. And then we have news. All right, and then we'll go ahead and try this one again just to reinforce the 2 different suits being used in here for any new players. So we have 2 cracks, 0, 0, and then since we used cracks here, we can use dots or BAMs. We'll go ahead and use BAMs here. And then we have news again. All right, so that is the 2026 section. It's pretty small section. So all exposable hands, and key just to remember, the white dragon is considered a neutral tile when it is used as a 0, so it can be used with any suit. Now we are into the 2, 4, 6, 8 category. So with this section, we have line 1A here. So with line 1, there's an A and B option. Line 1A, it is any one suit. So we have that pung, pung, Kong, Kong pattern. This would be the basic hand in the 2, 4, 6, 8 section, or at least I like to call it the basic hand. So pung, pung, Kong, Kong, 2, 4, 6, 8. This is a fixed hand, so it has to be these numbers being used. So do pung, pung, Kong, Kong, 2, 4, 6, 8, one suit. And then could use any other suit, dots or cracks or BAMs for this hand. All right, so pretty basic. So we'll move on to the line 1B. We have any 2 suits being used here. So 2, 4 in one suit, 6, 8 in the second suit. First suit, we can use whatever we want. We'll go ahead and use the characters. So pung, pung, and then for the Kongs, we can use either dots or BAMs. So we'll just go ahead and use dots. So Pung Pung, Kong Kong, 241 suit, 6-8 second suit. All right. We'll go ahead and move on to line 2. This line reads, any two suits. So we have a pair of flowers, which do not belong to a suit. And then we have one suit here with this Kong of twos. We have pairs of 4s and 6s in a second suit. And then we will bounce back to the first suit for the Kong of 8s, as the 2 and 8 are the same color. So go ahead and make example here. We have 2 flowers, so we have our pair there. And then for this, we could use either bams, dots, cracks, doesn't matter. We'll go ahead and use dots. So a Kong of 2s, second suit, we can use cracks or bams. We'll go ahead and use bams. So pair 4, pair 6, and now we get to our 8. Has to match the suit of the 2s, so we have to use 8 dots here. All right. So we made that one correctly. So key is just to remember to follow the color going on. The 2s and the 8s are the same color. 4s and 6 are the same color. And then for line 3 here, we have any one suit, east and west only. So east and west in general throughout the card, you're going to see it associated with even numbers, especially in the Winds and Dragons section. So last year we had hands in the Winds and Dragons section, east-west associated with evens, and north-south associated with odd numbers. So that's going to remain the same with this card. So we have pair, pair, pung, pung, pair, pair. So there are a lot of pairs in this hand. It is a 30-cent hand. So the last hand that we did, line 2, it was also a 30-cent hand. It had 3 pairs in it. This one has 4. So a little harder to make this one. And still same price point going on here. So we have one suit for this hand. So everything is the same color, east and west being neutral. So we have pair of east. We can use any suit. So we'll do characters, and then keeping with the one suit, we'll do pung of 4s, pung of 6s, pair of 8s, and then on to our pair of west. All right, so we made this correctly. So just as we did character tiles here, we also could have done dots or bams. That also would have been correct. So just remember, any new players, these hands that contain pairs, you cannot use jokers in the pairs. So the east, the west, the 2s, the 8s, there are no jokers able to be used here. You can only use them in the pungs for the 4s and the 6s. All right, line 4. We have any 2 suits with matching dragons, these numbers only. So this is a fixed line. So you have to use 2s, you have to use 8s. You can't use 6s, you can't use 4s in the sand. Only 2s, only 8s. So we have a Kong Pung pattern for this one. So 1 suit and then 2 suit. So any suit for this first one, we'll do white dragons, or sorry, we'll do dots and then white dragons. So Kong 2 dots, Pung white dragon. We can use any suit for the 8s. We'll use characters, and then red dragon to go with our characters. All right, so just as we did it with dots and characters, we also could have done BAMs and characters, or characters, BAMs, any combination for these 2 different suits. All right, and then we'll move on to line 5, which this one is just any one suit. So we have pung, pair, pair, pung, kong. So patterns are kind of all over the place on this card, in my opinion. But we have a pung of flowers, and then the rest of the hand is one suit. So we'll just pick any suit. We can do bamboos, pair 2, pair 4, pung 6, kong 8. All right, so we could have done this with bams, or not bams, cracks or dots would have been fine as well. And again, no jokers in the 2 or 4. You can only use jokers with the flowers, the 6s, or the 8s. And then we are on to line 6 here. So any 2 suits, kong 2, or sorry, I'm reading the wrong line. Any 3 suits for this line, like kongs 2, 4, 6, or 8 with matching dragon. All right, there's a lot going on in this hand. So 2, 4, 6, 8, we'll start with that. One suit, first suit here. These are singles. Cannot use any jokers here. We will pick whatever suit we want. So even though this is green, we can do 2, 4, 6, 8 in characters. And then we have a color change. So we are going to second suit with the color change. We already use characters, so we have to use dots or bams. We can go ahead and use the bams. So 2, green dragon, and then like kongs, since we use 2s here, we have to use 2s here as well. And we are in a color change, so we are in a third suit, dots, and then we have to use the white dragon to go with the dots. All right, so we are going to do this hand again because this is one of those more flexible hands where we have other options we can do. So we'll do a suit here, 2, 4, 6, 8. Again, no jokers can be used in this section. We have the kongs. Going back to the card, it says like kongs 2, 4, 6, or 8 with matching dragon. So we could use 4s here, we can use 6s here, we can use 8s here, whichever number we want. So we'll go ahead and use 4s, and then green dragon, and then third suit, we used 4s for the first kong, so we have to use 4s again with the second kong in the third suit. So we already used dots, we used bams, so we have to use characters. All right. So just to show the hand incorrectly being made, we'll do 2, 4, 6, 8. And then let's say we wanted to do 8s here. So we have bams, dragon, green dragon, and then third suit. Correctly, we should be using 8s here. But if this hand was made incorrectly, let's say we did 6s, this hand would not be correct. We'd go to validate. It would tell us it's an invalid hand because the kongs specify like kongs. All right. So we'll move on to line 7. Line 7 states any 2 suits, kong 2, 4, 6, or 8. So this one's a lot like the last hand that we just did. We have flowers in this hand though, so that's one of the main differences. So we have pung of flowers, we have 2, 4, 6, 8 singles, we have another pung of flowers, And then we have the Kong, just like before. It can be 2, 4, 6, or 8. And then we have 2 suits in this hand, though. So we'll do our Pung of Flowers, and then first suit here can be bams, cracks, or dots. So 2, 4, 6, 8. We have another Pung of Flowers. And then the Kong, it shows 2s on here, but we could do 6s if we want. I chose bams for this. We used dots for the first suit. This is a 2 suit hand, so we could have also used 6 cracks, 4 cracks, 2 bams, 8 bams. Doesn't matter, just because this Kong is pretty flexible in what you can use here. Just as long as you don't use dots for this Kong and you're using an even number over here. All right, so hand made correctly. We'll go ahead and move on to the last hand in 2, 4, 6, 8. This is a concealed hand, so you cannot call for any tiles in this hand except for the winning tile to complete your hand. So parentheses read any 2 suits. So we have flowers, 2, 4, 6, 8 in one suit, 2, 4, 6, 8 in a second suit. This hand only reads any 2 suits. There are not any other notations for this hand, so the hand has to be made exactly as the way it's shown. The 8s have to be the pungs. You can't change it to the 2s, the 4s, or the 6s. It has to be the 8s in both grouping. So we have flower, flower. We have our first suit, so we can do 2, 4, 6. So these are singles. You cannot use a joker for any of these tiles. And then our Pung of 8s. You could use a joker here if you wanted to. Because on the card, there is a separation between the 2, 4, 6 and the group of 8s. So due to that reason, you can use jokers with the 8s. If these were all combined together, the grouping was having no spacing, you couldn't use jokers in it, but because it has the 2, 4, 6 space Pung of 8s, you can use jokers here. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8 in one suit, and then second suit we can use bams or dots. So we'll do 2, 4, 6 and a group of 8s. We go ahead and validate. Made it correctly. I'm going to make this one with jokers just to be clear that it's okay to use it with these 8s. So we have the flowers. We'll do 2, 4, 6, and then 8, joker, 8, and then that's our first suit. Second suit, we can use cracks or dots. We'll do 2, 4, 6, and then we could even use all jokers here. So joker, joker, joker. So that's our 8s. Go to validate. This is also correct. All right, you guys. So that wraps up the 2, 4, 6, 8 section. Next, we'll be doing the any like numbers. Okay, so we have any like numbers line 1 here. This line, parentheses reads any 2 suits. So we have one suit here, second suit here, and then for the pattern, we have a Kong, and then we have, what do they call this, sextet. So a group of 6 tiles, and then a Kong. So it's kind of like a mini quint looking at this hand. You don't have to use jokers in here though, because there are 8 flowers, so it is possible to make this hand without jokers since the flowers are the sextet. So we're in any like numbers, so the Kongs on the beginning and end do have to match. So we'll go for some examples. Making it as the card shows at first, we'll do dots. And then we have our flowers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then second suit. So we can use BAMs or cracks here. Just has to match the first one. So we'll go ahead and use BAMs. So that is that hand as shown, but since it's any like numbers, we could use any number we want. So let's go with sixes. So we have a Kong of 6 cracks. We have the 6 flowers. And then second Kong, second suit, and must match our first Kong number. So we'll do 6 dots. All right. And so next hand, we have any 3 suits with matching dragon. So we have 1 suit, 2 suit, and 3 suits. So we have as far as the numbers go, we have a Kong, Pung, Kong going on here. And each grouping has a single dragon. So any like numbers. So we already went over in the first hand that you can use any number here. So we'll just do one example of this. We have a Kong of 4s. Since we use dots here, we have to use the white dragon since that dragon matches this suit. We have second suit, so we can use either characters or bamboos. We go ahead and do bamboos. So a pung of 6 bams. The dragon, green dragon for the bamboos. And then the last Kong in our third suit, we have to use characters. So a Kong of 6 cracks with a red dragon. And then just remember, these are single dragons. You cannot use jokers to fill in for any of these dragons, but you can use jokers for the rest of the hand. And I just noticed for some reason I switched from 4s to 6s. This is not a correct way to do any like numbers. If we validate this, it's going to say it's wrong. So we will do the skin correctly. I don't think it'll fill in correct here. No, it's not going to, but we can, no, because it's out of order now. So let's do this again. I don't remember what we started with. 6s, white dragon. 6 bam, green dragon. 6 crack, red dragon. Now the hand is correctly. All like numbers, all same number. I don't know how I switched from 4s to 6s in that before. All right. So next line, we have line 3. This one reads, any 3 suits with any dragon. This one kind of brings me back to the Winds and Dragons hand where it had the flowers last year with the 1, 2, 3, and then the dragons. So this one's just a little bit of a swap up. Instead of the multiple dragons, now we're moving to numbers. So we have flower, flower, and on the Winds and Dragons hand last year, it was a 1, 2, 3 in one suit, and then the 3 sets of dragons. But now we have 3 sets of like numbers and a pair of dragons. So we have 3 suits, 1 suit, 2 suit, 3 suit. And then the dragon can be any suit. Does not matter. It does not have to match this first grouping here, even though they're shown as the same color. So we'll do Kong characters, 3 characters, and then when like numbers, so we'll have a pair of 3 dots. And now that we use 2 suits, only suit left is the bamboos. So we have a Kong of 3 bams, and then our paradragons can be anything we want. So we can make it this dot here. So dots, white dragon, All right, so we made that correctly. We'll do this one again, just to reinforce this hand. So flower, flower. We can choose any number we want. We can go with 9s. Go bamboos. And then 9 dot pair. 9 crack. And then we could also do red dragons because we can do any dragon. All right. So hopefully this hand makes sense. Just be sure to always read the parentheses. It specifies any dragon. So the dragon is not required to match any specific one of these. And that is also the end of any like numbers small category again this year. Just 3 hands. They are all exposed hands. So there are no concealed lines in any like numbers. Okay, so now we are moving on to Quints. So for this first hand, we have any 3 suits, any like numbers. So basically a like number hand, and the pattern here is quint, Kong, quint. So we have 1 suit, 2 suit, 3 suit. And then since we are in quints here, and there are only 4 of each tiles, we will have to use at least 1 joker in the first quint and the second quint. So we have our first suit. We can do quint and then a Kong in second suit. So we can go ahead and do bamboos. And then last suit, we have to use character tiles. All right, so made that correctly, but we could also do this with any other number because it is any like numbers here. So we could do 6 dots for the first quint. Since we did 6s, now for the second grouping, we have to do 6s for the Kong. And then 6 bamboos for our third suit and last quint. All right, so pretty basic one. I think this one might be a popular quint. You don't need any flowers. So if you can get all the same number, which in general, I feel like 1s and 9s are one of the best any like numbers to do because they're on the edge there. So people are either going to need them or they're not going to need them. So just depending on what's going on in the Charleston, you might get a lot of one of those. So for line 2, we have any 1 suit, any 3 consecutive numbers. So I like this one. It reminds me of the hand from last year as well. With consecutive run, you had a Kong of flowers and then Kong, pair, Kong. But now we got pair, quint, pair, quint. So we have pair, and this is 1 suit. So we can pick any suit we want. So 1, and then sticking with the same suit, 2, and then 3. All right, and then it's any consecutive 3 numbers. So instead of 1, 2, 3, we could do flower, flower. Any 1 suit, so we can pick any suit we want. So we can do 6. And then pair 7. And then 8. And just remember, we cannot use jokers in the pair for the flower or for the middle pair here. So our 7s only can use jokers in the 6 or 8. All right, and then let's move on to our next hand. We have any 2 numbers in any 1 suit with opposite dragon. So Got a lot of text in that parentheses. So any two numbers. So it has ones and fours here. So this could be 3 and 7, 9, 2, any two numbers. They just have to be in one suit. And then opposite dragon. So whatever suit we choose here, we have to use a dragon that belongs to a different suit. So let's go ahead for this first one. We'll do 9. So there is our first grouping, any number, and then we chose dots here. So now for the second grouping of quints, we have to use dots as well, but it can be any number we want. So we can do 2s. And then for the dragon, we're using opposite dragon. So since we used dots here, we can use red or green dragons. Does not make a difference. Just cannot use a white dragon. All right, so we made that hand correctly. So we'll do this again. So we could also do 4. Let me do a little spacer there. That way it doesn't get mixed in with the 5. So since it said any two numbers, it does not matter if it's consecutive either. So we have 4, 5. We used cracks. We have to use green or white dragon. Does not matter which one. All right, so this is also correct. So very flexible hand here. Just remembering it's one suit, and then dragon does not belong to the suit that you used for the numbers. And that also wraps up the quints. So pretty small section there as well. Only 3 lines. They are all open, so there is no concealed hand in the quints. So next we will be looking at consecutive run. All right, so for consecutive run, we have line 1. This is one of the hands where it has the A and B option, and this hand pretty much found on every National Mahjong League card in some way. It's just 1 through 5 fixed. You cannot change any of the numbers because it reads any one suit, these numbers only. The only difference is that the pattern changing on here. So last year on the National Mahjong League card, we had a pair, pung, kong, pung, pair pattern. So we kind of had like a little pyramid buildup. Now we have pair, pung, kong. So we did see this pattern before. I believe in one of the sections. Yes, it was 2468 line 3. We had pair, pung, kong. So that seems to be another pattern on this card. So just remember with this, you cannot use any jokers in the pairs, but in the pungs and kongs, it is fine. So one suit, we'll go ahead and build it out. We have 1, 2 as a pung, 3 as a pair, 4 as a pung, 5 as a kong. And it's these numbers only, so we're required to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can't do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Has to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So just like we did BAMs here, we could have also done cracks or dots. So next hand, we have 1B. So basically exactly the same as 1A. It's just instead we're doing 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So same pattern, one suit. So we'll do 5, 6. So pair, pung, kong. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, so now we'll go ahead and move on to line 2. This line is also an AB line. So for the first part, line 2A, it is any one suit, any 5 consecutive numbers. So the line in parentheses, it reads any 1 or 2 suits, but it's talking about the A and B option here. But for line 1A, it's just referencing one suit since this is all one color. So we have Pung, Kong. We have singles here, so no jokers. But looking at it, it's kind of pung kong pattern. Just remember, this is not actually a pung, but if it helps you to remember, which it always helps me, just remembering pung kong, just have to remember the 2, 3, 4 for the second pung is actually a group of singles that just happen to be same size as a pung. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can do any 5 consecutive numbers here. So we'll start out building it as it's shown. So flower, flower, flower. Choose any suit we want. We can do bamboos. So Kong. And then our 2, 3, 4. So in the Asian variant, it'd be a chow, or some people might call it a run. So we have 2, 3, 4, keeping with the same suit, and then Kong 5. All right. So since this is consecutive run and this line specifies any 5 consecutive numbers, we can also change the numbers being used. So we can do, sorry, not 1. We'll do 3. Oh, I guess I need to start out with the flowers first though. So flower, 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 pung, Kong 3s. And since we're starting with 3, we'll do 4, 5, 6 for our run, and then 7 for the Kong. All right. So moving on to line 2B. So this one is any 2 suits, any 5 consecutive numbers. This one, instantly, I'm remembering another hand that we've already looked at. There was one hand on here that kind of had this wraparound in 2468. So 2468 line 2 kind of had this color pattern going on. So we have any 2 suits, 5 consecutive numbers. We'll do flower, flower, flower. So that's our pung. Kong, we have our first color. So we'll do dots, and we'll start with a 4 here. And then we have a second suit. So we can use any color we want. We start with 4, so we can do 5, 6, 7. And now we have the first color again. So we have to connect that back to our 4. So we will go to 8 dots. So, and the reason I was saying this one reminds me of 2468 is because that hand was flower, flower, and then it had 2s, and then pair, 4, 6, and then the 8s and the 4 and 6 were one color, and the 2s and 8s were the matching color. So sorry if I'm jumping around a lot. Hopefully that I'm just trying to connect similarities in the different areas of the card to kind of show repeating patterns that are happening. Because this one, there are a lot of patterns on it, but the hands, you can usually see them connecting throughout the different sections. So I'm just wanting to point out that these type of patterns you're seeing it in either suit pattern changes or the groupings like pung kong, or suits or the number changes like that in the grouping sizes. I'm just wanting to show that you can see these throughout different parts of the card, and maybe it'll help you with remembering these different hands that you're seeing on here. Just like whenever I'm saying, it helps me to remember that this is a pung kong pattern. Even though I know this is a group of singles that we're seeing here, it still does have that shape of pung kong. Um, just can't use any jokers in here. So hopefully that makes sense for everybody, kind of seeing how my brain operates and looks at everything. We'll go ahead and validate this. It's good. And then we will move on to line 3. All right, so line 3 reads, anyone's... No, that's not... Oh, I'm still looking at 2468. So this one reads, any 3 suits, any 3 consecutive numbers. So we have pair, pung, kong. So I'm pretty sure we saw this pattern somewhere else as well. Off the top of my head, I'm trying to remember. I think it was in evens, but can't think of it right off the top of my head. So we'll just move on. So, all right. So we have pair, pung, kong. We have 1 suit, 2 suit, 3 suit. So we have 1, 2, and then we have 1, 2. So numbers have to match this first part here. So we'll go 1, 2, and then our third suit, since we're doing 1, 2, 3, since it's any 3 consecutive numbers, will be in bamboos for this Kong. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And then since it's any 3 consecutive numbers, we can even mix this up. So we can do 5, 6, and then we can do 5, 6, and then 7. All right. So just remember on this one to follow the card. We have 1 suit, 1, 2, second suit, 1, 2. So these numbers are basically mirroring each other. And then our third run number being this Kong over here. All right, so consecutive run, line 4. This one has an A and B option. This reads, any 1 or 2 suits, any 4 consecutive numbers. So this is what I would say is the basic consecutive run hand. We're back to that pung, kong basic pattern that we see on the card. This one is all one color, so it'll be only 1 suit being used here. So we can do pung, kong, 'Kong. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is just as it's shown, but we can do any 4 consecutive numbers, so we can mix this up. We can do any suit we want. We can do 6, 7, 8, 9, and that is fine as well. Just remember, in consecutive run, there are no wraparounds with the National Mahjong League card unless the hand states so, which I don't believe on this hand it says anything like that. I'm kind of going through this the same as I'm doing this with you guys. So no wraparound, so you can't do 7, 8, 9, 1. That would not be valid for the National Mahjong League card for this hand. So we'll go ahead and move on to line B. So this is where we have any 2 suits, any 4 consecutive numbers. So we have Pung Pung in 1 suit, Kong Kong in a 2nd suit. So we can do 4, 5. So we have our Pung Pung in 1 suit. We have color change. So now we're going to a different suit. So we have 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. So there's that. We'll go ahead and move on to the next one. We have line 5. This is also an A-B option. We have 1 or 2 suits, any run, dragons, match, middle number. So a lot going on with the text here. This one for line A is pretty basic though. It's all 1 suit. So for the most part with this one, we're only focusing on 1 suit as far as the parentheses has taken us. So we have flower, and then we have 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, and then the Kong of Dragons. So since we're using dots, we have to use white dragons here. And then our pattern, we have Pung, pair, pair, Pung, Kong. So maybe this one would reference another one, but it's not immediately coming to my head. It's us having a hand. We probably have done one with this pattern, but I'm just not immediately thinking of one. So I feel like there's going to be a lot of memorization with this hand, with this card in general as well, just because the patterns, there's a lot of them, which I feel like with last year's card, there was a lot as well. So I think the league is going towards more of a varied build for the hands, keeping it more interesting for everybody, a little bit longer to get to learn it, which I think is not an issue. There are lots of singles and pairs on this card though as well. I think even more so than last year. But that's this first hand, and then since we're in consecutive run, it does say any run. So even though we did 1, 2, 3 here, we could build this out as Pung flower, 3, 4, 5. So Pung, pair, pair, Pung, and then our Kong. Since we used bamboos, we'll have to use the green dragon. All right, so we'll go ahead and move on to line 5B. So this is where the rest of the parentheses text comes in. So we have 2 suits, any run, dragons, match, middle number. So this is where the dragons specifying makes more sense. So we have 1 suit, 2nd suit. We're going back to the 1st suit and then back to the 2nd suit. So looking at it this way, I don't think it looks so bad. Reading the parentheses is a little wordy and I think could be overwhelming to newer players reading it, but looking at it, it doesn't look so bad. So we just have 1 color, 2 color, color 1, color 2. So color 1, color 2, color 1, color 2. So it's not such a bad pattern really whenever you're looking at it like this. So we'll go ahead and build it out. Tongue of flowers. We can do any run, so I'm not going to focus too much on that because we did it on the first hand. So we'll do pair 6. That was our first suit, so we're using characters here. We have our color change representing our 2nd suit. So we'll go with 7s. Now we're going to the 3rd number, which goes back to the 1st suit. So since we use characters, and now we're in 8 because 6, 7, 8. So we used characters, 8 cracks. And now we're going to the dragon, which has to match the middle number. So going to the 2 here, which we have as our 7. since we have white dragons here, or white, since we have dots here, we have to use white dragons. All right. So one more time, I'll build this hand. So Pung, pair, so one suit, pair, and now back to the first suit. Pung, and then Kong of our second suit, which would be the red dragon. All right. So now we are on to line 6. This one reads, any one suit, any 2 consecutive numbers. So immediately this one, bringing me right back to any like numbers. We had that any like number hand with the sextet of flowers. So it was Kong, sextet, Kong. We're basically back to that, just consecutive numbers instead. So any one suit. So we have 1, our 6 flowers, and then 2 for our consecutive run picking back up. All right, but again, we're in consecutive run, so we could do flower, flower, 4s, 6. Oh, whoops, I hit the next hand. Previous hand. All right. So again, going back to hand 6. Sorry, I accidentally hit the wrong one. I was like, not even thinking I saw the flowers, and then I'm like, why are the flowers not in the middle now? So 4, the flowers, and then 5. All right, now we'll move on to line 7. All right, 7A. So this one reads, any 1 or 3 suits, any 3 consecutive numbers. So we have seen this hand before. The 2024, I believe. Yep, 2024. I got the card right here. 2024 had this exact hand on it. We have pair, Kong, Kong, Kong. I actually like this hand. I missed it whenever they took it away on 2025. So now it is back. We have 1 suit here. So we have flower, flower, and then 3 consecutive numbers, all Kongs. So 3, 4, 5. All right, so we also could have done this in dots, bams. Could have done 1, 2, 3. Could have done 3, 4, 5 like we did. 7, 8, 9. Any 3 consecutive numbers. So we move on to line B. And then this was also on the 24 card. So we have any 3 suits. So we have flower, flower, first suit, second suit, third suit. So pretty basic. So we have flower, flower, 3. We use dots here. So now we can either use bams or cracks. We can go ahead and use bams. So 3, 4, 5. We use dots and bams already. So now we have to go to cracks for our third suit. All right. So pretty easy hand. I bet this one will be popular because I believe in the past, if I'm remembering correctly, it was a popular hand there then. So I believe it'll be a popular hand again just because of how easy it is to remember. And it's like a frequent flyer as far as hands go on past cards. All right, so last one. This is the concealed hand for the consecutive run section, which also to note, interestingly, this is only the second concealed hand we have gotten to on this card. The only other section so far that had concealed hands or a concealed hand was 2468. So the year category, any like numbers, Quints, none of them had any concealed hands. So far, not as many concealed hands. Usually there's about one per section minus the Quints. But we have single pair pung, and then a pair. This is almost like last year's hand for the concealed line and consecutive run, because it was, let me just double check. It was flowers, I believe. Yep. So pair flower, single pair pung, single pair pung. So instead of it requiring flowers, they've just gone ahead and made it, instead of a run of 3 numbers, it's now a run of 4 numbers, with the final number changing from flowers to a pair of the final number. So we go ahead and build this out. We have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then our pair. Oh, can't do that one. It's 3 suits, so 4. All right. So if we make this again, since we can do any 4 consecutive numbers, instead of doing 1, 2, 3, 4, we'll do 6, 7, 8. So that's our first suit. Second suit, we're going back to 6, 7, 8. So we'll do 6, 7, 8. And now we need to go into our third suit and our final 4th number, 9. All right. So that's not too bad to remember. Just remembering if you played with the 2025 card, instead of it having a single pair pong with the flower in the beginning, you're just having a 4th number replace that pair of flowers. So that will wrap up consecutive run, and then we are moving on to 13579. All right, so we are in 13579, or odds, as you'll probably hear me refer to this section. First hand, we have the usual hands we see. 13579. They usually always have some sort of hand like this on the card. They switched it up a little bit this year with patterns, as far as color pattern and the grouping pattern. So we can relate it back, though, to consecutive run. So if we look at this, it is any 1 or 3 suits. Since we're in odds, this is a fixed hand, meaning that we will not be changing any of these numbers as they are listed. It's not flexible like consecutive run unless the parentheses state otherwise. So the pattern we see here is that pair pung, Kong pattern, which is the same pattern that was used in consecutive run. They used pair pung, Kong for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're seeing it again, but 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. So this is any 1 or 3 suits. We are in line 1A, so this would be any 1 suit, as it is all the same color. So we will do pair, pung, pair, pung, and then our Kong. All right, so just as we did characters, we could have also done dots or BAMs here as well. So we'll go ahead and move on to line 1B. So with this one last year, we had one suit for 1-3, a second suit for 5, and then a third suit for 7-9. But now we're getting a 1-3 in one suit, 5-7 in a second suit, and then the 9 is in the third suit. And I feel like looking at it, it makes sense. At first, I kind of saw it and I'm like, oh, that kind of looks like just like a jumble. I don't know how I really feel about it, but really, I don't think I mind it because these patterns are exactly the same. So 1-3 and 5-7, we have that pair pung. So coloring actually does make sense. And then the Kong stepping out as that third color. So looking at it more, I feel a little better about the color pattern and how they did this in 3 suits. It does look like it makes more sense. So we'll go ahead and build this out. We have our first suit. So any suit we want, bams, dots, cracks. We'll go with bamboos. So 1, 3. Now we have color change. So we need to pick a second suit. We can either do cracks or dots. Let's go ahead and do dots. So pair, pung, and then third suit. We only have one suit left. Characters, we'll do a Kong of 9 cracks. All right, and that is how we make this one. So again, these numbers are fixed. 13579 has to be used just as it's shown. Just be sure to pay attention to the colors on the card to indicate when the suit changes. All right, so now we have line 2A, and this one reads just any 2 suits. So pretty standard for the odd category to have this 1-3-3-5. So we have 1-3 in one suit, 3-5 second suit. So pung kong, or sorry, pung pung kong kong. So we have this basic hand with the basic pattern again. So we have pung, pung, kong, kong. So 1-3 in one suit, color change for second suit, 3-5. All right, and then we move on to line 2B. So instead of it being 1-3-3-5, now we're in 5-7-7-9 for big odds. So previous hand was little odds, now we're in big odds. So first suit, 5-7, we can choose any suit we want. Do 5-7, so pung pung, color change. We'll do Kong 7, Kong 9. All right, so line 3, this is also an AB line. We have any one suit, north and south only. So if you remember back from the even category, I had said east and west associated to evens, north and south associated to odds. So we're seeing that again here. We have pair, Kong, pair, Kong, pair for this hand. So this one is a little odd. So we're making the hand exactly as it's shown. So we have pair north, Kong 1 in any one suit. So we could have done dots or bams. Now that we have cracks, though, we need to continue with that suit. So pair 3, Kong 5, and then our pair of south. All right. And then line 3B. Same thing, just instead of little odds, we're doing big odds. So north, and then we'll do dots for this one, keeping with one suit since we're all the same color. All right. So there is that. I was kind of hoping that we would have seen the same pattern that we had in 2468, but it doesn't look like we get that with that. So if we reference back to 2468 on that east-west hand there, they did east and west as the pair. So we have the same thing going on here. But they did pair pung, pung pair. So I guess since they had 4 numbers to work with, we only had 3 numbers we needed to work with. So they did the best they could with having to do it in 3 numbers for 135 or 579. So comparing the two, I guess it does make sense how they had to do this because it was pair pair, pung pung, pair pair for the evens hand, and now we're pair Kong, pair, Kong. So, I don't know. I feel like that's going to take a little bit of remembering, though. But it does remind me of last year because they did this Kong, pair, Kong pattern a lot on the 25 card, I feel like. Unless I'm imagining things. No, maybe not in odds because it was that dragon hand I'm thinking of, but it was Kong, Pung, Kong, Pung. So this one, I guess north south 579. All right, well we'll just go ahead and move on. It'll be fun remembering this card, I feel like. Okay, so we have line 4. This one reads as, if I can get the right one pulled up, any 3 suits, pair, any odd number, Kongs, match pair. All right, so immediately, this one is taking me back to the consecutive run hand on the 2025 card. We had, with that one, there was this similar setup where we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with any of the singles as a pair, and then the Kong matched the pair. So now instead we have 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 with the Kong matching the pair. In this example for line 1, that would be the ones, but this pair could be any of these numbers. So just to show it, we'll do, and we have 3 suits. So first suit for these singles, so no jokers in here, has to all be the actual number, but then the Kongs, you can use jokers in them. So we'll do first suit, any suit we want, but we do have to do 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. We'll do 1, 3, 5, 7, 7, 9. So that's our first suit. We decide to do the 7 as the pair. So due to that, the parentheses specify Kongs match pair. So we will have to do Kongs, 7s in the second suit, and then third suit we haven't used bamboos. So 7 Kong in the bamboo. All right, so I know others often refer to this as on last year's card on the 25 hand in consecutive run, they referred to it as floating pair hand. So I'm sure it'll be referred to as the same on this card. It's just odd floating pair hand. So it's a fun hand. I didn't play it too much on last year's card, but it is nice having a familiar hand So maybe at the start, at least, maybe I'll play it a little more just because I remember it from last year under consecutive run. All right, so line 5. This one, any one suit with matching dragon. All right, so we have a pung, pair, pair, pung, kong pattern. And it's all one suit. So we have flower, flower, flower. 1, 3, 5, and dragon. All right. So just as we did characters, though, we could have done dots or bams. Just would have had to use the associated dragon. So dots, we would use the white dragons. Bams, we would use the green dragon. So this one is the little odd version of this hand. So 1, 3, 5. So line B, it'll be the same thing, but it'll be the big odd version. So we'll have pung flower, 5, 7, 9, and our Kong of Dragons. All right, but again, this could have been BAMs or characters with the associated dragon for those suits. All right, line 6A. This one reads any 3 suits. So we've seen this hand before on this card already, but it was under consecutive run. Consecutive run, line 3 is what this one reminds me of, except since we're in odds, we can't do the 1 suit option, so it's only using the 3 suited option. Oh wait, sorry. I don't know what I'm talking about. It was 3 suits in consecutive run as well. 1, 3, 1 suit. 1, 3, second suit. 5, third suit. So we have 1, 3, 1, 3. So we have pair, pair, pung, pung, and then Kong in our third suit. All right, so this is the little odd version of this. Move over here, we have the big odd version. So we have 5, 7, pair, pair, 5, 7, pung, pung, and then Kong. All right, so move on. Line 7. This one is any 1 or 2 suits. So this is 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. So we have Kong, pair, 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 Kong. So this hand is fixed. So it'll always be Kongs, 1s, and 9s, pairs, 3, 5, 7. All right. So pretty easy, all 1 suit. We move on to the next one. It's 2 suits. So in the past, I think I've kind of called this like a gate pattern. I hadn't referred to it as that in the previous hands that kind of have this different color situation, but we have basically 1s and 9s are the gates, open them up, and then we have a second suit inside. So we have first suit. So we could have done cracks or bams as well. Now we're moving on to a second suit. So we can do either cracks or bams, does not matter. We'll do bams, 3, 5, 7, since we're keeping with the color in here. And now 9, we're going back to the first color. All right. So 2 suits, the 1s and 9s, 1 suit, 3, 5, 7, second suit. Now we have the concealed hand. There are actually 2 concealed hands in odds this year. So this one, parentheses, read any 3 suits, these numbers only. So we have the little odd version of this hand, and it specifies these numbers only. So the pungs of 1s have to remain as pungs of 1s. If it said pungs 1s, 3s, or 5s, then we could have done that. But since it says these numbers only, we have to build this exactly as it's shown. So we have flower, flower, and then we have pair, 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 pung, pung. So 1, 3, 5. So that's our 1 suit. We're moving to a second suit because we have a color change here. Since we use characters here, we have to use dots or bams. So we can do 1, 1, 1. And then pungs of 1 bams to finish it off for our third suit. And then we move on to line C, or not line C, line B, 8B, C, concealed, still a concealed hand. So we have the big odd version. So these 5s, the pungs have to be the 5s. They can't be the 7s or the 9s. So flower, 5, 7, 9. And then the pungs, we have a second suit, so we already used dots. 5, and then bams for the third suit. All right, and then just to show you guys, if we tried to change this, it would not be a valid hand. So if we did 5, 7, 9, and let's say we decided that we wanted to do 7s because we forgot, we didn't read the parentheses, this would not be correct because it has to be the 5s since it's saying these numbers only. So see, invalid hand here. This is not a correct way to make this hand. All right, now second concealed hand. We have any 1 suit with opposite dragons. So whatever suit we use for this 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, we have to use a dragon that belongs to the other 2 suits. So we have pair, and then we can use any suit we want. Let's go with dots. I don't know why I keep picking dots, but 7s, 9s. Now we're in any opposite dragon. So we can use either the red dragon or the green dragon, since those are opposite to the dots. So we can go with the red dragon. Correct way to make this hand. Do it again. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Choose the red dragon again. Also correct. So that is going to wrap up the odds section. This one's a pretty large section for odds. And then since you have the little odds and the big odds in here, that also makes this section look a little fuller than most others. So just remember the bottom 2 lines in this hand or in this section are concealed. So next we'll be going on to Winds and Dragons. Okay, you guys, so now we are moving on to Winds and Dragons. So we are here on line 1. There is not any parentheses here, so the hand, it's built just the way it's shown. Don't have to worry about any suits in this one. Since the winds are their own thing, don't belong to a specific suit. So we have the pattern that we pretty much always see with this type of line. So Kong, Pung, Pung, Kong. So the north and south share the same Kong size, and then east and west, both Pungs. So we'll go ahead and build this out. Kong, pung, pung, Kong. And then we move on to line B, and basically the same thing here. It's just east and west are Kongs now, north and south are pungs. So we'll have pung, Kong, Kong, pung. All right. So now we'll move on to line 2. So this one, any 4 consecutive numbers in any one suit, any 3 dragons. So this one is basically taking it back to the 2025 card, line 2. The hand from 2025 was flower, flower, 1, 2, 3. And then we had the dragons. We had pair, pung, Kong, and the dragons were any suit as well. So with this one, we just have no flower. We have a run of 4 consecutive numbers, and then there is no pair in the dragons. So we have pung, pung, Kong instead of pair, pung, Kong for the dragons. So building it out, we can do any suit for 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can do 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the dragons, we can do any dragon here. So just because, we did BAMs here doesn't mean we have to do the green dragon or anything like that. We can do 2, 3, and then next dragon, 1, 2, 3, and then Kong. All right, and then and since it's a consecutive run, we don't have to do 1, 2, 3, 4. We can do 5, 6, 7, 8, and then any dragon we feel like. All right, so not too bad. Just remember, since these are individual tiles, this is a grouping of singles, so you cannot use any jokers in the number portion of this hand, but you can use as many jokers as you like in any of the dragons for this one. All right, so we'll move on to line 3. So now we're going back to what I was saying a few times in this video at this point. North and south is associated with odds. So we have any like odd numbers in any 2 suits. So any like number hands, but it has to be odd. So since we're using north and south. So we have pung, Kong, Kong, pung for this pattern of this hand. So we have pung. And then even though there's ones here, it's any like number. So we can do 4s. So we have 1 suit. So now for the second one, we can do either cracks or bams because it's only a 2 suit hand. Doesn't matter which one. So we'll do 4 crack and then south. Oh, whoops. Okay. Okay, this is a way not to make the hand. Completely what I just said not to do. North and south are odd. I was too focused on any like numbers. So this is how not to make the hand. So we will try again. Get rid of these. All right, so 3s. We'll go 3 crack. 3 dot. And then south. Okay, now it's right. North, south, odd, east, west, even. And I try to remember that. Usually east, west helps me remember it most because I'm thinking E, even, east, west, E, even, and then north, south. It's just the leftover, so north, south, odd. But if I just remember E for even for the east and even, that's kind of how I tell myself. So we did 3s here, but we could have done 1s, 5s, 7s, 9s, just as long as the Kongs are the same number and they're odd. It's the only trick with this hand. All right, so line 4, it's the same as before, except now we're even. So now we can do 4s. So east, west. So pung, kong, kong, pung. All right, so same as before. Any even number, so we could do 2s, 6s, 8s, just as long as the kongs are the same exact number. All right, now we'll move on to line 5, and line 5 reads, any wind, any dragon. So we have a pung kong pattern here. We have flower, flower, any wind. So we could do north. We can also do west. Completely fine. Then we have pung, and then any dragon. So we can do green dragon, red dragon, white dragon. It's not going to make a difference. All right, so that was fine. We'll do it one more time. Flower. We'll do north this time. Flower. And then we can do a green dragon. All right, so pretty easy. Just remember, pay attention to the parentheses. Any dragon, any wind. Next, this one I thought was an interesting one. We have basically single pair pung kong for news, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, single pair pung kong news. So any suit can be used. The line specifies any one suit, these numbers only, because they are connecting it specifically with the number of winds that are going on. So even though it's a consecutive run, you can't change it to 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is going to always be 1, 2, 3, 4 used in this hand. So we'll have 1 north, have to keep the same suits. 2 pair of east for 2 easts. 3 pung is 3, so we have 3 wests, and then 4 kong of south because we have 4. All right, so this hand we could have used 1, 2, 3, 4 in dots, 1, 2, 3, 4 in cracks. Would have been fine either way. And then now we'll move on to line 7. This one has 2 options. So this one is any 2 dragons. So we have flower, north, south, kong, pair, dragon, and 1 suit, pair, dragon, and a second suit. So flower, north, south. This has green and red, so we could think bam and crack, but color is only indicating suits being used. So first suit, color change, second suit. So we can do white, green, and that works too. So again, kong of north, kong of south. Then we can do red, green, and that's fine as well. So that was A. Now B is exactly the same hand, except we're just doing east, west for the kongs. East, west, and then any pairs of dragons in 2 suits. So white dragon, red dragon. All right. And then next hand, we are on line 8. This is the concealed hand. So kind of a year hand, primarily using wins, but does have a 2026 block in there. So can't call for anything in this hand, except for the winning tile, the last tile you need to win. We have pair, pung, group of singles for 2026. So no jokers can be used in here. Pung, pair. And then you guys know from me talking before, I'm associating kind of like this is one block. It's basically a Kong, but a Kong of singles. So this one, it's got that shape that we had last year for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 for the first hands. We have that pair, pung, Kong, pung, pair shape. So this is I believe the first time that this shape has come up again in this, or first time it's come up in this card, but this isn't really a Kong. But in my mind, that's the way that I would remember this shape. So we have pair, pung, the group of singles, pung, pair. So north, and then the 2026, it's going to be any one suit for 2026. So we have pair, pung, 2026, any one suit. The 0 is not associated to any suit, so we can use it with bams, cracks, dots, doesn't matter. So 2, 0, 2, 6. This is considered one suit here, since the white dragon, when it's a 0, is neutral. And then we have pung and then pair. All right, so we could do this again. Just going back to 2026, that's the only reason. Just show it again, so you could do it like this as well. So for any new players, the white dragon could be used with any of the suits. All right, so that is going to wrap up Winds and Dragons, and then we will be moving on to 369. All right, so in 369, we have line 1 here. This one has an A-B option. Parentheses read any 2 or 3 suits. So any 2 suits is associated with line 1A. So we have the basic 369 hand that you'll see, and it's keeping that pung pung kong kong pattern. So 3 6 6 9 3 6 in one suit, color change 6 9 in a second suit. So we can do 3 6 6 9 pung pung kong kong. All right, and then we could have mixed up these suits any other way. We could have done 3 6 bam, 6 9 dot, 3 6 crack, 6 9 bam, would have been fine as well. So on to line 1B, we have any 3 suits. So just as we've seen in past with the color pattern, we have 3 6 in one suit, color change. So this 6 is in a second suit, and then we have another color change. So the 9 is in a third suit. So keeping that pung pung kong kong pattern though. So we have pung, pung, kong, kong. All right. But we could have done this any other way. We could have done 3 6 bam, 6 dot, 9 crack, or any other combination. All right, so line 2, this one reads any 3 suits. So we have 3 6, 3 6, 9. And if I remember right, we have seen this before. 1 3 1 3 5. It was the same. Pair pair, pung pung kong, but now we're doing it with 3 6 9. So 3 6 3 6 9 pair pair pung pung Kong. So another pattern repeating on here. So let's go ahead and build that out. We'll do pair pair 3 6 and then 3 6 and pungs 3 6 and then our last suit to a Kong of nines. All right, and then just remember these are pairs, so you can't use jokers in them. You can only use jokers in pungs, kongs, or any larger sized grouping. All right, so line 3, this is another AB line. We have one suit with matching or opposite dragon. So first line is all one color, so this would be one suit with matching dragon. So we have a pung pair Kong pattern for this hand. Did we see this pattern before? Don't think maybe we did. But let's go ahead and build it out. Pung. And then we'll just pick a suit. It doesn't matter which one. Pair. Pung. Pair. Kong. So red dragon goes with our character tiles. And we could have done this with BAMs and green dragon or dots and the white dragon. All right, so next we have one suit with opposite dragon. So if we go ahead and build this like we did before, pair, pung, pair, pair, pung, pair. Now we need opposite dragon. Since we use character tiles, we can either do the green dragon or the white dragon. Doesn't matter which one we choose. So we'll do a Kong and green dragon. We could do this again. We could do 3 6. Oops, missed a 3. 3 6 9, and we could do white dragon. All right. So now we'll move on to line 4. I like these news hands. A little sad that there's not more on this card, but we have a repeat of that pattern, pair pair pung pung Kong. So just like we saw in line 2, we're seeing it again here. The only difference is this isn't really a Kong. It's individual tiles for news. So no jokers here, but just as a helper to remembering the pattern, we're seeing that pair pair pung pung Kong pattern again with this hand, just with news. So we're going to build it out just like before, except this one, it's any 2 suits. So unlike the line 2 where it's any 3 suits, we're only using 2 suits in this hand. So we'll have 3 3 6 6 6 9, and then we have news. All right, but we could do it with 3 6 6 9 news. Where did I mess up this? Whoops, right there. News. All right, so I know I probably sound like a broken record, but I am just trying to reinforce for any beginner players. No jokers in pairs. So no jokers in 3 6 here for this first grouping area, and then no jokers in news. So the only place you can use jokers here would be the 6 9 pungs. because there are a lot of singles and pairs on this card. So it's important for any new players to get down that jokers cannot be used in singles and pairs, and that the news grouping is considered a grouping of singles, even though it is the same size as a Kong. It is not technically a Kong. All right, so now we'll move on to line 5. So line 5 says any 3 suits pair 3, 6, or 9 Kongs match pair. So this is going back to that odds hand where we had line 4 in odds. We had 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. One of the tiles paired with Kongs of the paired tile. So we're doing that same thing here in 3, 6, 9. So the flowers are added into this one. So the odd hand did not have the flowers, but just because we only do 3, 6, 9 in this category, there were less tiles for them to work with. So they had to add in these flowers to supplement the hand. And then we have it shown 3, 6, 9. So this pair can move around, but for this one, as it's shown here, since the 3 is paired, we have the second suit needing to match the pair. So we'll do Kong of 3 crack, and then third suit 3 bam. Oh, whoops, I accidentally clicked 8 instead of 9. But so that should have been a 9 right here. I don't even know if it'll let me. I think it has. Okay. So this doesn't care if it's out of order, but 3, 6, 9, 3 paired, and then 3s. So we'll do this again. Pair, and then we'll move it around. So 3, 6, 9. Now that the 6 is the one paired up, we'll do 6s. And that's correct. So we could also do it with 9s, and then we can also do the suits switched around. So we could have done cracks here, dots and bams, or bams, cracks, and dots. Any combination going on here, just remember your pair matches the Kong is the key to this one. Okay, so line 6 here. This is the concealed hand, and it just reads any 2 suits. So we have flower, flower, 3, 6, 9 in one suit, and then 3, 6, 9 in the second suit. These are singles, so no jokers here for this second suit of the 3, 6, 9 individual tiles. But looking at it, it has a pair, pung, pung, pung. And then if we looked at these as one, a pung, but they're not really a pung. But if it helps you remember the tiles, pair, and then all pungs afterwards, just one of the pungs is a 3, 6, 9 individual tiles. So we will have flower and then any suit we want. So let's go with the cracks, 3, 6, 9, and then 3, 6, 9 in a second suit. So since we use cracks here, we can use dots or bams. All right, and then again, this is a concealed hand, so you cannot call for any of these tiles except for the tile to Mahjong or to win. And that will wrap up 369, and then next we'll be moving on to the last section of singles and pairs. So now we are in singles and pairs. We are on line 1. All of these hands are concealed. None of these hands can use jokers. So just to be clear for any new players, you can never use a joker in a hand in singles and pairs, and they're all concealed, so you cannot call for anything. You can only call for your winning tile, the last tile you need to complete your hand. So line 1 here, we have 3 suits, Any 3 suits, any like number with matching dragon. So we have pair, 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 pair. So news paired up, and then singles. One dragon, one dragon, one dragon. So we have 1 suit, 2 suits, 3 suits. So 3 suits north. So if we make this hand east, west, south, so all of those pairs. And then even though this has ones here, it can be any like number. So we could do 6, since we chose a dot for our first suit, do a white dragon. Now we can do either cracks or bams, doesn't matter which. So we'll do 6 crack, red dragon for the matching suit, 6 bam, green dragon for the matching suit. All right, so we could have done this with any number as well. We could have used all 5s, all 4s, all 9s, just as long as the same number is being used in here. All right, line 2, this one reads, any 3 suits, these numbers only. So it's specifying this because this pair of 8s over here, we have single, single, pair, pair. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 1 suit, 2, 4, 6, 8, second suit, third suit, pair of 8s. This 8, they are not changeable, so they can't be any even number. So this is fixed here. It has to be an 8, and it has to be in the third suit. So first suit, we can pick bamboos, characters, dots, doesn't matter. Let's do 2, 4, 6, 6, 8, 8. And then let's do 2, 4, 6, 6, 8, 8. And then we have to do bamboos. So pair 8 and bamboo. So if we made this incorrectly, let's say we forgot the 8 could not be changed. If we tried it, it would not be valid because it says these numbers only. So let's say we had 6s. This would be an incorrect way to make the hand. So have to keep these as 8s. Your singles and pairs have to be exactly as they're shown. The 2, 4 cannot be paired. It only is 6 and 8s in pairs. All right. And then this is the 3, 6, 9 singles and pairs hand. So this one, any 3 suits. So we got the numbers kind of changing around in here. So we start out with the 3 paired, the 6 paired, and the 9 paired. Let's do flower, 3, and then 6, 9 singles. Now we'll move on to the next suit. We'll do 3. Now it's time for the 6 to be paired up and the 9. And then 3, 6, 9. So that's a fun pattern. I actually like the way this one looks. I think it makes it fun. All right, singles and pairs line for this one reads any 1 suit, any 7 consecutive numbers. So this one won't be too bad. I could see if you have like a lot of consecutive numbers, this one might not be too terrible to make. So any 1 suit. So just as it's shown. All right, and then if we made it different, we can move it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, but again, with these consecutive runs for any new players, we could not do 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3. National Mahjong League. None of the hands on here allow you to wrap around. So this would not be valid. So your run has to either start with 1 through 7, end with 9, so or anything in between, but you just can't end it with any other number above 9. Or well, I guess that technically, yeah, you guys know what I mean. So no wraparound. Can't do this to the hand. Can't do 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1 would not be allowed either. And then any suit can be used in here. So we could do 3, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then line 5, this one is any 2 suits is all that's written in parentheses here. So we have the odd hand. So looking at this one, we have 1s and 9s paired, 3, 5, 7 in singles. And then it is basically mirrored in 2 suits. So we have first suit can be whatever. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. So we have our pairs, singles, and then the pairs. And now we can do either dots or bamboos. Doesn't matter which. All right, so this isn't a bad hand. I like this one as well. And then the last one, this is the big year hand, worth the most points. This one's 75 points, so quite a bit. 2026 in each suit, so pair of flowers. And then white dragon, neutral tile, so it can go with all of these with no issue. All right, so that wraps up the video. I hope that this was helpful. There's lots of singles and pairs on here. So any new players, just remember no jokers and singles and pairs, news block, NEWS, you see that together, single tiles, you can't use jokers in there, and then same with how we have 2026 here, no jokers in 2026, because those are also a grouping of singles. So you remember that, and should help you a lot with getting through a lot of the hands on here. All right, well, I will see you guys in the next video.